Dr. Harry Al-Wassiti, thank you so much for joining us on Connections for Change, taking questions from our alumni today. Can you tell us a bit about how you came to be part of the team at Monash working on the COVID vaccine?
Yeah, absolutely. So I finished my PhD in 2018, and right after finishing my PhD in gene therapy, I went and talked to Colin, who is my current advisor, and we talked in length about developing this new technology called mRNA, and its wide applications in vaccines. We've been very aware of that, and for cancer immunotherapy. So we decided we could do and start this kind of project right here at MIPS, which stands for Monash Institute of Pharmaceutical Sciences. And we've really, started the mRNA. So the mRNA technology, actually is unique to Australia. So there isn't any university or any other company that we know of in Australia that has this technology. And we're pretty connected in this field. So we basically know. So we were the first to develop it here in Australia. And the next 2 years spanned through really looking into the technology, improving it, kind of developing intellectual properties, but also researching and how that possibly could translate into a vaccine. Because it's a new technology, you have to discover a lot of the science and have to really put it into new applications and ask questions that you can't really find in a public domain. So we've been doing that, and in the time, but in the end of 2019. We were working on basically this associated technology using mRNA. We called it rapid response. And it really was designed to kind of catch up with the pace of how influenza viruses mutate a lot from year to year. So in order to be able to catch up to the mutation load of the influenza, we needed a technology that could catch up to that pace. So we called it rapid response, and the goal of it was to, instead of waiting for influenza vaccine to be developed for 9 months, we could develop it in a month or 2. So we could, make this vaccine, mRNA vaccine, within 2 months from receiving the sequence. So we started working on that in end of 2019, and by about January to February in 2020, where the coronavirus has hit, and we started thinking about that, and probably in March, where I said to Colin, we probably should do something about this because we have this capability, so we can actually develop a vaccine pretty quickly. I basically started working, and the rest of the members in the lab has joined in because obviously the threat became serious, and a lot of people, the numbers getting higher, and we started to understand a little bit more about the virus itself. But by April, we've already had the candidates of vaccines, in the fridge, waiting to be for preclinical trials. And since then, we were really, looking into. We've been working with a lot of groups across multiple domains and across multiple faculties, and also institutes to advance it through and hopefully to kind of push it into human clinical trials.
Is this the fastest you've ever seen this process happen? With the pressure to find a vaccine and to deliver on this, is this sort of the fastest you've ever seen it play out?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, with the original SARS-CoV-1, it took about 2 years to develop something that could then go into human clinical trials. On the other hand, this year, probably after 60, 70 days, so Moderna started, phase 1 clinical trial about 60 days after the initial sequence has been published. So, you could, this technology, and particularly the nucleic acid vaccines, mRNA included within that, it's really putting a completely different scale on how vaccine is being developed. So part of it is to make the vaccine, and I think we got really good at this as a scientific community and as researchers and biotechnologists. Obviously, the other barriers which are really important are the safety, efficacy, and these could be accelerated to some extent, but they still have, we still have to wait specific time before we can actually tell whether a vaccine can work or not. Yeah.
So you've had a pretty amazing personal journey to where you are now here working on this pretty critical project globally. Can you sort of tell us a bit about your life, how you came to be in Australia and how you kind of ended up at Monash Pharmaceutical Sciences working on what is quite possibly the most important project in the world right now?
Yeah, it's really quite an exciting journey, and I think it's really driven by asking important questions, in life and careers. It's all about, what do I want to do, and what do I want to be in, and what do I want to kind of achieve. And I think that all started, with my family leaving, Iraq in about 2005, and we lived in Jordan is because we wanted, kind of a better life, and our lives were actually, in constant danger during that period. And a lot of other families have suffered the same consequences. And, people may not know, but about 5-6 million Iraqis are actually migrated, outside Iraq in the past about 10-15 years. So it's quite large number of that's probably as big as Melbourne, of people that has left the country. So there's a lot of families who had the same experience as we did. We left to Jordan, and we've decided that we wanted to go somewhere where it's permanent. We can live permanently there, because we couldn't go back to our country. So that's how I ended up coming here, and we basically migrated here. So we had an application. Put an application, and we migrated here. And I guess, then it's really started. So I was a pharmacist. I trained as a pharmacist in Jordan, and coming here, I've kind of thought, well, I actually like the sciences quite a lot. And this is a new opportunity in life, and it's a new place. So I'll try to, take an adventure. And I guess always push through that is to whether I can take a little bit of risk to to explore something new, or to ask a really important question. I always, I think, driven by that. So yeah, questioning. I guess questions are really important. Not in terms just of the science, but also in career and in life. You always want to ask, what can I do? How can I do better? What if I can do something like that? What if, and then how I can do it? And basically, that's drives me. Yeah.
That's amazing, and really great advice for all of us listening, actually. So thank you so much, Harry, for your time today, and all the very best with the work that you're doing. Thanks again.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you. Thank you for having me.